I'm Pastor Michael. Thanks for joining me for a moment of faith. You know, it's easy for us as human beings to get trapped in a feeling of perfectionism, that we need to be perfect, that somehow we're falling short in the eyes of God. It's so easy to feel that way as we live our lives. You know, how many mistakes did I make today? Where did I fall short? This drive to think that we need, in God's eyes, to somehow be perfect in order to receive God's grace. I want to read a short piece of scripture today from the book of Matthew, the New Testament book of Matthew. This comes from that great Sermon on the Mount. These are Jesus' own words, we're told in scripture. And this verse comes from the very beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, or the verses that are referred to as the Beatitudes, or the blessings. This is Matthew 5, verse 6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Interesting how these words are written. This is Jesus himself, we're told, talking. Notice that it doesn't say, blessed are those who are perfect in righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are those who have achieved full righteousness, for they shall be filled. It doesn't say that. It says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. In other words, it's our pursuit of righteousness. It's our pursuit of being the best we can be that's important to God. God knows that as human beings, we'll never get to perfection. We'll never reach that in this lifetime. It's impossible for us to do that. We can't get grace from God by our works. They will never be enough. It's enough that we're pursuing it. It's enough that we're hungering for it, thirsting for it. We're trying to do the best that we can to be right people. That's the important thing, even though we'll never get there. I want to read some words to you that I think put this really well from a book called The Pursuit of God. The writer is A.W. Tozer. He was a preacher and a writer and author, lived starting the late 1800s and passed away in the 1960s. In his book, The Pursuit of God, he says this about how God blesses those who simply try really hard to be righteous. And here it is. See how God winked at weaknesses and overlooked failures as he poured upon his servants grace and blessings untold. Whether it's Abraham, Jacob, David, Daniel, Elijah, or whomever you will, honor followed honor as harvest the seed. The man of God set his heart to exalt God above all. God accepted his intention and acted accordingly. Not perfection, but holy intention made all the difference. God is saying, look at all these people. Tozer's saying, look at all these people. Jacob, David, Abraham, all of these people that were so blessed. They weren't perfect. There wasn't perfection there. It was their intention that God blessed. So let's remember that when we feel like we need to be perfect, when we need to achieve some level of perfection to receive God's grace. It doesn't work that way. It's not the God we believe in. That should give us a tremendous amount of hope and freedom in the days ahead.